Yep. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our postponed August meeting, now being held on the 9th of September 2025. Great to see so many people in the gallery. Welcome, and we look forward to a constructive meeting. I'd like to start the meeting by inviting the CEO to talk about recording and live streaming of council meetings. Item 1.
All council meetings are filmed with both video and audio being recorded. Video is focused on a specific area, however audio from the entire room is captured. In common with all narrative during council meetings, verbal responses to congratulations, obituaries and question time will not be recorded in the written minutes. By submitting a question, you consent to your question being read aloud at the meeting. The reasoning behind recording council meetings is to hold us more accountable and to improve the transparency of council's decision-making to our community. The full meeting is being streamed live on council's YouTube channel, which is Alpine Shire Council, and will also be available on the YouTube channel shortly after this meeting.
Thank you. Could everyone please stand for acknowledgement of traditional custodians and recognition of all people? Alpine Shire Council acknowledges the Tongarong peoples as the traditional owners of the lands on which we are meeting today. We also acknowledge other traditional owners of the wider lands of the area known as the Alpine Shire. Council also acknowledges those people who have contributed to the rich fabric of our community and who strive to make wise decisions that will improve the quality of life for all. Thank you. Item 3 is confirmation of minutes from the ordinary council meeting M7 held on the 29th of July. Councillors, the recommendation is that the minutes as circulated be confirmed. Yep. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Anderson. Councillor Smith. Nothing. Councillor Anderson. Any other councillors got anything to say or add? No. I'll take this one to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 4 is apologies, and we have none. Item 5 is obituaries and congratulations, and I am going to start tonight with a recognition of the recent funerals of the 2 police officers who lost their lives in the line of duty in our Shire, and pay our respects and condolences to their families, friends and colleagues, and also offer speedy recovery or hopes of speedy recovery to the officer who was injured in the same incident. And then I would like to open the floor to the councillors on my left, starting with Councillor Tanzin.
Nothing from me, thanks.
I would like to address also my sincere condolences to the McNaught family after the passing of Jenny McNaught. I have known Jenny since I moved to the region. She successfully brought me to the executive of the Bright Spring Festival in 2016 and supported my involvement with our great community. I could remember the last chat we had with Fraser during the Bright Rotary barbecue at the market last month. Jenny will be missed by so many in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate from Councillor Ronco that Jenny McNaught was and her husband Fraser, pillars of our society, and the amount of work they put into our local shire here is just amazing. Volunteer work, they still were actively involved. I'm sure Fraser will keep going on, but it was she was just will be a huge loss to the community. That's all for now.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Graham.
Thank you. Last week we lost a staunch member of the Myrtleford community, Raymond Hogg. Very nice gentleman, really nice. Past president of the Myrtleford Speedway, and his funeral is being held at 11 o'clock this Thursday.
Thank you. Councillor Byrne. No. Councillor Anderson.
I'd like to congratulate the Myrtleford Saints under-12s and under-14s footy teams on their premiership wins on Sunday. It was a fantastic result for a very proud Myrtleford town. Just sorry Bright couldn't get there in the end, and good luck to all clubs going into their grand finals this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. I'd like to add my condolences to Fraser McNaught and Jenny and Fraser's two children. Jenny's loss will be absolutely felt across the community. She was absolutely phenomenal at supporting women, and she's worked on committees over 30 plus years, culminating in the Alpine Women's Group Committee, which like to go under the name of Women with Altitude. And it was just an absolutely wonderful way to bring women together and talk through, have great social occasions, but talk through the things that are really important and ways forward. So great loss for Fraser, and I offer my condolences to everybody and friends. And on a lighter note, I would like to recognise Mayford Winery, which is a local couple, a viticulturalist and winemaker establishment just out of Popunka. They have achieved an overall winery rating in the most recent Halliday Wine Companion of Top 5 Red, which is magnificent. That's huge. That means they've been getting really good awards for the last 10 years, and they do make very nice wine, I can tell you. I'd also like to recognise Bill Scott, who is a local resident who has taught my children, and I'm sure plenty of others across the region, who followed his dream many years ago and represented Australia at the Olympic Games in Moscow, and was recognised recently. And so congratulations to Bill Scott. And that's enough from me. So we move on to declarations by councillors of conflict of interest. Does anybody have any declarations tonight? No. The next item is public questions, and because we have such a full gallery and fairly full agenda, I'm going to make sure that all questions asked tonight or responded to tonight are about items on the agenda. So I first of all will start with a question on notice, which is about an item on the agenda, which is the I actually can't remember which agenda item it is, but it's about the Bright to Wandillagong trail, shared trail, Centenary Park to Pioneer Park. And we've had a number of emails as councillors, 6 or 7 emails at least, from local people in Wandillagong saying, hang on a minute, there's another section of path that's got more, that's more important than the one that you're putting forward tonight. So the question here is from Rugby McLean, who lives in Centenary Avenue. I'll read the whole thing. The proposed new shared path along Morses Creek would be a worthwhile improvement over the present start of Bennett's Trail in Bright, which utilises public roads and roadside paths in the initial section to Doherty's Bridge. Though the present arrangement does provide a degree of safety for bike riders and walkers, the same cannot be said once they exit Bennett's Trail at Smithy Lane in Wandillagong. Riders and walkers have no option but to travel on Centenary Avenue with a hill that conceals from view any persons on the road ahead, then on Morses Creek Road in the 80-kilometre zone on the way to Nightingales, with an increased risk of road deaths and serious injuries. So the request in the question is that the initial concept designs presented to Wandillagong Preservation Society in 2022 for an extension of the present shared path to terminate at Nightingales should be advanced and have priority over the proposed Bright to Wandillagong Trail, Stage 1, which is in the papers tonight. The number of bike riders, adults and children using Centenary Avenue on their way to Nightingales in holiday periods would be approximately 50 per day, with same number returning. And the extension of the existing shared path would be in accordance with the Safe Local Roads and Streets program, offering a safe environment for walkers and bike riders, an environment not presently available. And I'm going to ask our Manager of Assets, Director of Assets, Sarah Buckley, to answer more fully. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To inform that it was considered during the inception of the Safe Local Roads program, council officers, in conjunction with the TAC and DTP, met in 2 intervention workshops to discuss a list of speed reduction and traffic control projects that may have met the eligibility criteria for the program. Originally, around 16 potential projects were discussed for inclusion. Following these workshops, 5 projects met the eligibility criteria and could proceed to further design for consideration in the program. And this will be discussed at a later point this evening in the council report. The preferred projects from the TAC and DTP were Wandilligon Trail, Centenary Park to Pioneer Park and Kiewa River Trail, Dams Link Road. Council officers had discussed including the Wandilligon Trail section Centenary Avenue to Morses Creek for consideration. However, DTP and TAC provided feedback in a forum that they believed this project to be more heavily tourism driven and that Stage 1 and Dams Road best met the criteria against the principles of safety improvements. As the funding to Alpine Shire Council was limited to $2 million, DTP and TAC encouraged these projects to be put forward for assessment as top priority. Moving forward, the project will be considered by Council and in the coming year we will progress the following for this section that's referred to in the request. Firstly, to finalise the proposed alignment after engaging with all relevant and key stakeholders. Secondly, to build a case for the project to demonstrate alignment with the safety principles and assessment criteria for possible future funding under a future round of Safe Local Roads program or other relevant funding. And thirdly, to progress to a final bill of quantities and schedules to create a shovel-ready project for the purposes of applying for said grant funding.
Thank you, Ms Buckley. Now I ask for questions from the floor, reminding that they will need to be related to an item on the agenda. Are there any questions from the floor that are related to the items on the agenda? Mr Dyer.
My name's Ray Dyer and I reside at Buffalo River. Last council meeting and the not two council meetings before that, but this is the fourth time I've asked.
Is this about an item on the agenda, Mr Dyer?
It was on the agenda, it was a matter
Tonight?
of minutes.
Is it on the agenda tonight?
Well, I asked
And
last month.
if not, I would ask you to sit down, please, and we will open the floor to others who would like to ask a question.
What about matters arising from previous minutes? We don't have matters arising from previous minutes.
There's nothing from the last meeting that we needed to address, and
Yes, there is, Mayor.
there is not that we have recognised. Mr Dyer, please leave the mic and sit down. It's not the night to grandstand.
Not the night for grandstanding.
No.
Well, I take this straight out as you're stonewalling and dictatorship, well and truly, and there will be repercussions of this, Miss Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask for some questions from the floor, if anybody has any, or we'll move on? Thank you, Ms Healy. State your name and where you're from, please.
Hi, I'm Pat Healy from Wandilligon. I represent both the WPS and as a resident. Further to the bipartisan concerns, is that analysis with the PAC available for public viewing? Oh, sorry, I do speak loud, so hopefully, is it Natalie? Sorry,
Sarah.
Sarah, sorry. Would that be available just to see how they identify the current proposal as being a higher risk than Wandilligon? I personally have seen some very close near misses in Centenary Avenue and also on Morses Creek Road. Sometimes we have groups up to 20 with 3 different families with little kids. And then at the speed limit it is. I'd just like to see how they came that the current proposal is a greater risk than we're in Wandilligon. Also, so would that be available or?
So what we can supply is the eligibility criteria that they put forward and the assessment against the crash statistics, which were provided as part of a portal that they provide to council, and they'd like to align all projects with their crash statistics and safety principles. So we can supply, in the instance of, which is, I guess, a positive, in the instance of that section of the Wandi Trail, there were no crash statistics.
Yes.
However, the section 1, there was 3 to 4 from memory, but I can supply that data too.
Okay. If you could just send that through to the WPS email address, that'd be great.
Not a problem.
So we expect within a year we should hear from you in regards to the extension.
100%.
Well, I'll take that. I'll look forward to a response.
Public
1 year.
recording, so
that's great.
So
Thank
it
you.
will be in relation to an engagement process, because we want to
Wonderful.
come back to all relevant stakeholders to understand the final pathway, understanding permits, etc. So you will absolutely hear from us.
Excellent, thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Kath. Do I have any more questions from the floor? Marcus Warner. State your name and where you're from, please.
Marcus Warner, Right Chamber of Commerce. It's more a statement than a question. I just wanted to commend the councillors and the council officers on the... Just wanted to commend the councillors and the council officers on the improved draft council plan, and thank you for taking on board a number of the bits of feedback that the community put forward.
Thank you, Mr Warner. Appreciate that very much. And thank you very much for the comments that were fed in from the Chamber of Commerce and others. Any more questions on the agenda, Mr Dyer? We go through this again.
Yes, Madam Mayor, it is on the agenda. Item 8, native title or whatever it is. In 2014, when I ran for the Ovens electorate, the state election, there was a gentleman by the name of Freddie Dowling. He turned up and he was from the Bangarang tribe, and he said to the candidates, he said, you know, in 100 years, no one will even know that the Bangarang tribe existed. Now, I know Wangaratta has a memorial for the Bangarang tribe near Marrawar Park. It's been there for a long, long time. I saw it only recently. Now, has the Bangarang tribe, my question is, has the Bangarang tribe contacted the Alpine Shire as regards native title? Because Freddie said then in 2014 that he'd been trying to get on the native title since then to get recognised as an Aboriginal party. And maybe that hasn't happened to this day. Freddie passed away a few years back.
Thank you. We'll answer
my question is, has the Alpine Shire been approached by the Bangarang tribe as to being on the native title for this area?
I will ask our CEO, Mr Jeremy, to respond to your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Dyer. I can confirm that we have not been approached by any member of the Bangarang, and it would not be the appropriate mechanism for lodging a native title claim anyway. So we've got a report coming this evening that there is a claim group that is proceeding along an appropriate path, which is through the Commonwealth Government. But we have not been approached by the Bangarang, to my knowledge.
Well, they've been trying for a long time, I'll assure you of that. And I don't think they'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from the floor? Thank you. Then we will move on to presentation of reports by officers and start with our Chief Executive Officer, Mr Jeremy. Item 8.1.1, native title claim.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to seek Council's approval to register as an interested party to the native title determination application to the Federal Court of Australia by the Doodaroa, Waywuru and Ngurai Ilum people. So that's the native title claim group. So this native title claim group has applied to the Federal Court of Australia seeking a determination that the group holds native title in an area which is on a map, which is in the report highlighted in blue. That's an area approximately 24,315 square kilometres, and it impacts on quite a number of local government areas, one of which is the Alpine Shire, and it covers a significant proportion, if not all, of the Alpine Shire. There is a benefit in Council becoming a party to this application in order to be kept informed throughout the process of all information which may potentially relate to Council's interests in this matter. This does then allow the opportunity, should Council choose to participate in court proceedings, including mediations, hearings, to raise objections, present evidence and negotiate outcomes, and to be kept informed. So if Council doesn't register, it doesn't have the opportunity to receive information and to remain party to this claim. There is no cost to Council for registering to be an interested party to the claim. Council can withdraw at any time it chooses, and from an organisation perspective, we cannot see a downside to Council registering to be a party to the claim so that it can remain informed. We have recognised the sensitivity with the Taungurung as being a registered Aboriginal party, and we have reached out to Matthew Burns, who's the CEO of the Chungarang Land and Waters Council, and he has no objection to us registering a claim. In fact, he confirmed that the Chungarang themselves will also be registering as an interested party to this native title determination. So a recommendation this evening is that Council provides authorisation for the Chief Executive Officer to register the Alpine Shire Council to become an interested party to the native title determination, and notes that Council may choose to withdraw as an interested party at any time during this process.
Thank you, Mr Jeremy. Councillors. Moved by Councillor Tanzin, seconded by Councillor Byrne. Councillor Tanzin.
Nothing to add.
Any other councillors got any comments or questions? No? I have. So we work with the Chungarang at the moment. We're starting to work with them on a forum that they've set up. Is there any expectation that as this claim reaches its end, there might be something similar that we need to be part of?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think at this stage we don't really know what the outcome of this native title claim might be. By being a party to the proceedings, we'll be able to keep abreast of any developments, and perhaps as we get closer to the end of the process, which can run for multiple years, we'll then start to get a shape of what might come out of it. And of course, Council and the Council organisation are keen to work with traditional owner groups where they have registered claims and legitimate claims within the Alpine Shire. They're identified as part of our municipal community. So we'll keep abreast of developments and we'll keep Council informed as these proceedings pass through the courts.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
One more question. What would be the situation where we pull out as an interested party? Is there a sort of scenario that would happen?
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. I can't foresee a scenario where we might want to pull out. I think it's much more likely that we remain an interested party through to the end of the proceedings.
Any thoughts, questions, comments? No? Take this one to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Jeremy. We're now moving on to Director of Assets, Ms Buckley. 8.2.1, the Draft Asset Plan 25 to 2035.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report relates to the endorsement of the Draft Asset Plan 2025 to 2035 for public exhibition. The Asset Plan is a legislated requirement introduced in the Local Government Act 2020 that requires all Victorian councils to develop, adopt and keep in force an asset plan. It must be adopted by the 31st of October following a general election. The plan must cover a minimum period of at least 10 financial years and include information about maintenance, renewal, acquisition, disposal and decommissioning in relation to each asset class of infrastructure asset under the control of council. These asset classes include roads and car parks, buildings, pathways, open space, drainage and bridges. Council's current asset plan has been reviewed against the documents listed in the report. The review has been completed to meet the requirements of Section 92 of the Local Government Act 2020. The Victorian Local Government Act 2020 states that the asset plan must include information about maintenance, renewal, acquisition, expansion, upgrade, disposal and decommissioning, and be developed, adopted and kept in force in accordance with Council's deliberative engagement practices. The draft asset plan has been developed in conjunction with the draft financial plan. As such, it provides a long-term view of the resources that are planned to be available and how these will be allocated and prioritised over the next 10 years. The draft financial plan is also recommended to be endorsed for public exhibition at the ordinary council meeting in August. Continued focus on life cycle costs of infrastructure and alignment to services will assist in understanding the long-term implications of investment decisions. The draft asset plan has been prepared with significant community engagement, including a deliberative engagement process as part of the development of Council's draft Council Plan 2025 to 2029. A planned 14-day public exhibition period now provides an opportunity for the community to review and provide feedback on the draft asset plan. As a result, this evening, the recommendation is that Council endorses the draft asset plan 2025 to 2035 for the purpose of seeking public submissions. It invites public submissions on the draft asset plan 2025 to 2035 for a period of no less than, and I need to correct a typographical error here, no less than 14 days. And 3, considers a recommendation to adopt the final document at a future ordinary council meeting.
Thank you, Ms Buckley. Councillors. Moved Councillor Anderson, seconded Councillor Byrne. Councillor Anderson.
Just a question. How can people access the draft plan?
So thank you, Councillor Anderson. This will be available on Council's Engage page where you can log on, read the draft asset plan and provide feedback direct to Council. Members of the community are also welcome to come in and book a face-to-face discussion as well.
Thank you. Nothing to add. Any other councillors got a question or a comment? Got a question? Councillor Smith?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Can you just, how many times have we gone over this plan? How many times have you actually prepared this and we've redone it?
Thank you, Councillor Smith. This specific plan, or how many times have we had an asset plan? This is our second asset plan.
Are we finding that an asset plan is helpful, given that we've now legislated to do it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's crucial, in my opinion, in that it forms the basis of our efficient investment into those assets. And it tells us the condition of those assets, where we should invest that money against potential risks, and to ensure the life of those assets for our community members.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from councillors? No? Take it to the vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Wonderful. We move on to 8.2.2, lease of land at the Myrtleford Bowls Club. Mrs Buckley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report relates to a new lease for part of the land known as Crown Allotment 20D, Section E, Parish of Myrtleford. This lease seeks to document the terms and conditions under which the property has been used to date, ensuring clarity on obligations and legal compliance for council and the proposed leasee, Myrtleford Bowls Club Inc. Alpine Shire Council, as Committee of Management, is the appointed land manager for Crown Allotment 20D Section E, Parish of Myrtleford. This lease seeks to correct the absence of a binding agreement for the land on which this facility is located. The Myrtleford Bowls Club has been located on this parcel of land since 1947, and the building on the site was built by the proposed leasee, Myrtleford Bowls Club. There was limited ability for council to go to market seeking expressions of interest over this parcel of land. The annual lease fee is $250 plus GST, which is in accordance with the fees published in Alpine Shire Council budget. As the building is deemed a tenant improvement, council will not bear the costs of maintaining it. Given the capital investment by the occupant, the proposed lease is for a 20-year period. In July 2025, in accordance with council policy, notice was given to inform the public that council intended to enter into a lease over part of the land known as Crown Allotment 20D Section E, Parish of Myrtleford, with the current occupant and operator of the Bowls Club, Myrtleford's Bowl Club. The intent of the notice was to inform the community and provide them with the opportunity to commence prior to the lease being executed. No submissions were received. As a result, this evening, It is recommended that Council 1 approves and executes a lease for part of Crown Allotment 20D Section E, Parish of Myrtleford, and 2 signs and seals the lease for part of Crown Allotment 20D Section E, Parish of Myrtleford, at the appropriate stage of this meeting.
Thank you, Ms Buckley. Councillors. Moved Councillor Byrne, seconded Councillor Graham. Councillor Byrne.
Nothing to add.
Councillor Graham.
Nothing to add.
Any other councillors got anything to ask or add?
Yeah.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you. Can you just enlighten us, after 20 years, how was the error detected after 20 years?
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Essentially, the club was successful in securing a grant to replace their natural greens with artificial turf surface from Regional Community Sports Infrastructure Fund. As part of this and requirements under the grant, they're required to have an agreement with the land manager, which is us under Committee of Management, and to do that we need to have a lease to state that agreement.
Thank you. Ta.
Any further comments, questions? Councillor Anderson.
You said that there was no community feedback. How was the community notified?
It was gazetted and placed online on our website and also in local newspapers.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions? No, we'll take this one to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous? Super. Moving on to 8.2.3, Safe Local Roads and Streets Program, which is what the Wandillagong Bike Path, Shared Path questions were about. Thank you, Ms Buckley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to note that council officers have prepared a grant application under the Transport Accident Commission's Safe Local Roads and Streets program for the construction of the Bright to Wandillagong Stage 1 Centenary Park to Pioneer Park and Kiwa River Trail Dams Road Link in Mount Beauty. The TAC, in partnership with DTP, has developed a Safe Local Roads and Streets program to support the development and delivery of a road safety infrastructure projects on local roads. The program will seek to assist local councils in delivering safety improvements on the highest risk local roads, intersections and precincts. Council officers, the TAC and DTP, as mentioned earlier this evening, have taken part in 2 intervention workshops to discuss a list of speed reduction and traffic control projects that may meet the eligibility criteria for the program. Following these workshops, it was agreed that 2 speed reduction projects and 3 shared path projects met the criteria to be considered for this grant. These projects were speed limit reductions in the Merryang area and Mountain Creek Road, Tawonga. The shared path projects, as previously mentioned, were those in the Wandillagong Link Centenary Park to Pioneer Park, Kiwa River Trail Dams Road Link and Camp Street Off-Road. It's worth noting that the Camp Street proposal in Bright was later removed for consideration due to the complexity of issues that any final design would need to take into account that would not have met the construction deadlines for the program. The details of these projects are contained within the report in significant detail. It is estimated that the cost to deliver each project would be a total of 1.944 million. 1.9 million or thereabouts. Should council be successful in obtaining grants, the cost for construction will be fully funded by the TAC and DTP. It is estimated that there will be ongoing costs to council of the new assets that comprise of maintenance, which is approximately $4,000, and renewal based on the useful life of 42 years of an annual commitment of $9,000 per year. If the grants for the shared paths and speed limit reduction projects are successful, council officers will undertake targeted engagement with nearby landowners, occupiers of land and residents on the design of these projects as required. As a result, this evening, the recommendation to Council is that Council notes the Council officers have applied for grant funding under the Transport Accident Commission and Department of Transport and Planning Safe Local Roads and Streets program for the following projects: Mariang speed limit reductions, Mountain Creek Road speed limit reduction, Bright to Wandilligong Trail Stage 1 Centenary Park to Pioneer Park, and Kiwa River Trail Dams Road Link.
Thank you, Ms Buckley. Councillors. Councillor Tanzin, Councillor Ronco, Councillor Tanzin.
Yeah, Long Mountain Creek Road, if I'm correct, recently had speed limit reductions over the past couple of years. Is it proposed that we're reducing the speed limit again, or...?
I'll have to check which section of that is, Councillor Tanzin, and come back to you.
Right, thank you.
Councillor Ronco.
Just to know, how advanced are these two projects? Is there already designed, or they are shovel-ready and ready to go?
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. They are shovel-ready and ready to go out to tender.
Thank you.
Other councillors? Questions, comments? No? I've got a couple. Did we build contingency into the cost estimates?
Absolutely, we did. We've built in 15% contingency, and in addition to that, we've built in costs for project management.
Ah, you beat me to it. That was the next question. Thank you, Ms Buckley. Anything further from others? No, we'll take it to the vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Put your hand up. And we move on to 8.2.4, Draft Alpine Shire Neighbourhood Character Strategy 2025. Ms Buckley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Draft Alpine Shire Neighbourhood Character Study is a proactive initiative aimed at guiding future residential development while preserving and enhancing the distinct identity and livability of Alpine Shire's township. This report recommends that Council endorses an engagement process for community consultation. Once consultation is complete, Council will consider any feedback received ahead of adopting a final Alpine Shire Neighbourhood Character Strategy. The Alpine Planning Scheme Review 2023 recommended that Council prepares a neighbourhood character strategy for the municipality with the desired outcome to assist with achieving sustainability and neighbourhood character objectives, while identifying preferred character for future development. Council engaged Mesh Livable Urban Communities in 2024 to develop the Alpine Shire Neighbourhood Character Strategy. This will comprise of a character assessment and implementation plan and design guidelines to support the protection and enhancement of Alpine Shire's neighbourhood character and guide future residential development. The strategy provides an opportunity to shape and support residential development by acknowledging the existing character of Alpine Shire's service towns. Recent state planning reforms may impact how a final neighbourhood character strategy is implemented into the Alpine planning scheme. However, Council officers have been advised by the Department of Transport and Planning to continue with the completion of this already commenced work to help guide future development in and inform future structure planning for the 4 service towns. The draft Alpine Shire Neighbourhood Character Strategy has been fully funded by Council. The draft Neighbourhood Character Assessment 22-23 was for $46,470 excluding GST. Council subsequently undertook a public procurement exercise to prepare a neighbourhood character study for Mount Beauty, Toowoomba South, Myrtleford and Paulpunka, which was a total cost of $86,166. Undertaking community engagement on the draft strategy and the preparation of a final Alpine Shire Neighbourhood Character Strategy will not result in any financial further implications for Council. The pre-draft consultation that was conducted, Council officers undertook pre-draft engagement for the draft Alpine Shire Neighbourhood Character Strategy in 2024, a 28-day engagement period, 4 pop-ups and an online survey. We had 530 page views, 470 visits and 331 visitors and 30 submissions in total. The majority of the feedback supported the preliminary findings. Feedback with opposing suggestions informed description and mapping changes seen in the Alpine Shire Character Strategy 2025. Council officers are now proposing to undertake a further community engagement process requesting feedback on the Neighbourhood Character Strategy 2025. This will be done over a 28-day period via a digital survey on the Engage Alpine page, with the opportunity for in-person feedback to be arranged by appointment. As a result, this evening, it is recommended that Council 1 endorses an engagement process to seek community feedback on the draft Alpine Shire Neighbourhood Character Strategy 2025 for a period of 4 weeks, and 2 notes that Council officers will consider community feedback and report back to Council at a future ordinary Council meeting.
Thank you, Ms Buckley. Councillors. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Ronco. Councillor Anderson.
Just for the community to understand, this strategy, this neighbourhood character, is, you say it's a guide. It's not an enforceable sort of thing like a BMO or a flood overlay, something like that, just for the community to understand. It's more of a guideline for future development, is that right?
That's correct, once it is actually part of the planning scheme. Correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. Councillor Ronco.
I would like to congratulate the resident and also all the staff who put this draft in place, because it's a very comprehensive staff. And I invite again residents to have their to submit anything that they think is very important for the future of our community. So yeah, it's still important, the neighbourhood character, and yeah, thanks again.
Thank you, Councillor Ronco.
Yep. Any other comments from councillors? No, I just wanted to reinforce that, yes, it's guidance, but it's guidance for stat planners and councillors to make decisions on planning applications, and it's often been a whole over the last 8 years that I've been here, and contentious. So having something that's written and can be and has been developed with community input, I think will be really constructive. But my question is, do we have an estimate? Assuming that we vote this through today and then it comes back to a council meeting and it's voted through again, what's the estimate of time that it might take to get it through and part of the planning scheme?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We estimate it to be around about a 2-year period, so it's a significant amount of time.
Thank you. Anything further from other councillors? No? I'll take this one to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendation as it stands? That's unanimous again. Super. And then we move on to 8.2.5, Bright Valley Development, Road Deviation and Land Exchange.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to 1, commence the statutory procedures to consider carrying out the road deviation and land exchange as those terms are defined in the issues section of this report. And 2, advertise and invite public submissions on the proposed road deviation and land exchange under sections 207A and 223 of the Local Government Act 1989 and section 114 of the Local Government Act 2020. The Bright Western Gateway Development Plan was approved by Council on the 5th of July 2022. Stage 1 and 2 planning permit was approved by Council on the 28th of November 2023. In order to align with the Bright Western Gateway Development Plan, it's required that the existing unused government road traversing through the freehold land is deviated to the necessary alignment. The reason for the proposed deviation is to improve the connection angle at Great Alpine Road intersection, avoid various constraints preventing the construction of a road within the existing road reserve, notably the gradient at several points along the reserve, and to avoid a cluster of native vegetation and gradient at the southern end of the reserve. A copy of the manual title search of the road is attached to this report as attachment 1. The road to be deviated is indicated in attachment 2, showing the areas for discontinuation and those to be designated as a road. Council has agreed to consider undertaking the road deviation by exercising its power under Clause 2 of Schedule 10 of the Local Government Act 1989. Council has obtained consent from the Department of Environment, Energy and Climate Action, DECA, as delegate for the Minister for Environment to the road deviation. A copy of the letter of consent is attached to this report as attachment 3, ministerial consent. There is currently an unused road licence held for the government road that the road deviation and land exchange is proposed. A request has been forwarded to DECA's State Transaction Centre for cancellation. The licence cancellation process may take a period of 3 to 4 months before the cancellation can be finalised. The road deviation will be subject to the cancellation of the unused road licence. Some financial and resource implications. The adjoining owner has agreed to bear the following costs in connection with the road deviation and land exchange, that being stamp duty, surveying, lodging and PEXA fees and valuation fees in connection with any land which is subject of the road deviation and land exchange. Council must give public notice of the proposed road deviation and land exchange in accordance with Section 207A and Local Government Act 1989 and Section 114 of the Local Government Act 2020. Council will consider any public submissions at a future council meeting. Therefore, this evening, it is recommended that Council, as you can see here, the recommendations in the report are listed on the screen and in the public report and report for councillors, are to be considered by Council this evening.
Thank you, Ms Buckley. Councillors. Moved by Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Anderson. Councillor Byrne.
Nothing to add.
Councillor Anderson.
Nothing to add.
Any Councillor Ronco?
Will this road deviation have any impact on the current flood study for Stakegiri Road?
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. No.
Thank you.
Any further questions about this? Comments? No? Take it to the vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 8.2.6, partial road closure of parts of Martley and Nicholson Streets in Porepunkah. Ms Buckley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of the report is to seek council concurrence to the partial road closure of the western part of Martley Street and part of Nicholson Street in Porepunkah to incorporate the land into the adjoining Porepunkah Recreation Reserve. On the 15th of August 2025, the Department, DECA, advised Alpine Shire Council that council approval was required to amend the boundary between the Porepunkah Rec Reserve and the Martley Street and Nicholson Street Road Reserves. The boundary amendment was requested by the Porepunkah Hall and Rec Reserve Committee of Management Inc. to enable a proposed multi-purpose clubhouse to be developed in a location to the south of the Porepunkah Rec Reserve and for the existing Porepunkah Hall and tennis courts to be located entirely within the Porepunkah Rec Reserve as they currently straddle the boundary. This would require a partial road closure of the western half of Martley Street Road Reserve Crown Allotment 2008 and of the northern half of the Nicholson Street Road Reserve Crown Allotment 2006, which you can see in Figure 1 of the report. Council officers have undertaken an assessment of the proposal and can confirm as a result of this that these parts of the road are not reasonably required to serve as a road. During the assessment, it's worth noting that Porepunkah Rec Reserve was identified as a potential site for future childcare facilities in a 2020 study. However, it was ranked lowest amongst 5 locations which were assessed for suitability. As such, the proposed partial road closure is not expected to materially affect future planning for a childcare facility. There are no financial or resourcing implications for council associated with the recommendations of this report. However, in the instance that the boundaries do move and the partial road closure occurs, all assets located within the increased footprint of the reserve would become responsible assets of the Porepunkah Hall and Rec Reserve Committee of Management, Inc. As a result, this evening, it is recommended in the report and those that you can see on screen to be considered by council.
Thank you, Ms Buckley. Councillors? Moved, Councillor Graham. Seconded, Councillor Tanzin. Councillor Graham?
Nothing to add, no.
Councillor Tanzin? Anything from any other councillors? No? Take this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms Buckley, for your input this evening. We're moving on to our Director of Corporate and Community, Ms Cook, and item 8.3.1, Council Plan Community Submissions. Ms Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 8.3.1, Council Plan Community Submissions. Council has prepared a community vision, council plan and the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan as required under both the Local Government Act and the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. The draft plan itself was exhibited for a period of 28 days from the 29th of April. This report details the submissions that were received and how they have been considered in finalising the plan. The report summarises the consultation and responses received in preparation of the plan. Notably, Council undertook a number of surveys across the organisation in developing the plan, market plop-ups at many of our townships. We undertook youth engagement. We constituted a community panel which comprised of community members who met and donated their time for a period of time to provide input and feedback on the plan. There was a number of one-on-one sessions and workshops throughout the process, and there was traditional owner engagement. We thank everyone who spent time and considered our plan and provided feedback. We really appreciate the input we've had from our community. It's been extensive, and we feel like we've developed a really good plan on the back of all that feedback. With regard to the formal submission process, once the draft council plan was out for formal exhibition processes, we received 9 formal submissions on the draft. All submissions were considered and a number of changes were made to the plan in response to that feedback. All changes made and responses to those submissions are detailed in the report, and the council plan itself is being considered at a report later in the meeting. The recommendation is that Council considers the written submissions that were received as part of the public exhibition period on the draft council plan, community vision and the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan, adopts the amendments to the draft as contained in the attachment to the report you will consider later this evening, and notifies in writing each person or organisation who made a submission to the plan, explaining how their submission is being considered in the final draft. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms Cook. Councillors? Moved Councillor Tanzin, seconded by Councillor Anderson. Councillor Tanzin.
I don't really have much to add other than to thank the community for their input. It's really important, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
I'd just like to say the same. I think there's 6 of us here who are first-time councillors, so it was a really good opportunity to talk to the community and get real feedback on what needs to happen. And that process has been a real learning curve for me personally, and just thanks a lot. Cheers.
Anything else from other councillors? Councillor Graham. Yeah, you've got the red one.
Try that one. Okay, thank you. The council plan has been a long and arduous process, particularly for those of us that have been unfamiliar with how councils work to start with. It's taken many months and hundreds and probably thousands of hours of work, and it's looking fantastic, but I'm sure we'll all be glad to see it finalised so we can move forward.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Any other councillors? No. I'd like to... No, I'd just like to talk to the deliberative engagement that Ms Cook's mentioned. So the 2020 Local Government Act changes required that we undertake deliberative engagement for some of our very important pieces of work, and the council plan is probably the most important thing we do. It has to be renewed every 4 years after an election. I want to thank specifically the two people in the audience tonight who are part of the deliberative panel, and thank them very much for their input. It was fantastic. I think Councillor Ronco and I both went to all of the deliberative sessions, and it was absolutely wonderful to get that input from people, and then once the plan went out to the public, to get the feedback back again. And Mr Warner's already mentioned that his appreciation at the changes we've made, and I think it has made it into a much better plan, but we'll get onto the plan itself soon. But thank you to everybody who put in and who came to the pop-ups, who filled in the survey, who did all that stuff. We talk sometimes about engagement fatigue, and it certainly was pretty intense, as Councillor Graham's pointed out, and a lot of people have put a lot of time and effort into it. So thank you. That's it for me. Anything else from other councillors before we take this report to the vote? All those in favour of the recommendation as it stands? Thank you. That is unanimous. And we move on to the next item, which is the Alpine 8.3.2, and I'll let you introduce that, Ms Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 8.3.2 is the Alpine Shire Community Vision and Council Plan for the years 2025 to 2029, which incorporates the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan. The purpose of this report is to recommend that Council adopts that plan. I might not repeat it all again, that plan. Council's developed the council plan for the period of 4 years after its general election in accordance with Section 90 of the Local Government Act 2020. The Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan has been prepared in accordance with Section 26 of the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. The Act allows for the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan to be incorporated into the council plan, which is the approach that has been taken by council. The plan was prepared through a process of broad public consultation, deliberative engagement through a community panel, and stakeholder engagement with community and business groups, health services, government agencies and other key stakeholders. The draft plan was endorsed for exhibition at the ordinary council meeting in April, and a number of internal and external exhibitions have been received on the plan. The consultation process, submissions and changes made to the document to reflect the submissions were discussed in the previous agenda report. The plan includes strategic directions, our objectives, our priorities and our measures of success and indicators, and our major initiatives for the 4-year term. Collectively, this structure provides direction for council to deliver its activities during this 4-year term. Separate to the plan, a more detailed action plan has been developed. It provides further detail on the major initiatives in the plan. The action plan in turn supports more detailed departmental planning and delivery within council, and the action plan will be reviewed and updated annually or as required. Both the council plan and the action plan are as attachments to your report. It is recommended that council adopts the Alpine Shire Council Community Vision and Council Plan for the years 2025 to 2029, incorporating the Public Municipal Health and Wellbeing Plan, and notes that the Council Action Plan 2025 to 2029 supports the implementation of the Council Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Cook. Councillors. Councillor Ronco, Councillor Tanzin. Councillor Ronco.
Yep. No, I would like again to thank everyone involved with the Council Plan and Action Plan for 2025-2029. And I've been interested in Council plans the last probably 8 years and reading some across different shire. And I found this one, it's just the best that I have seen for a long time, very detailed, and especially with Council Plan Action. So I recommend all the officers and everyone who helped to put this document. It's very good, very great to see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. Councillor Tanzin.
Same thing as Councillor Ronco said, just thanking all the staff for the amount of hours they've put into this. A bit of frustration at times, I'm sure, and hopefully you'll be able to all sleep well at night now. But yeah, I think it'll send us in the right direction, and it's quite well thought through. So thanks everyone, including the community again, for their input. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Townsend. Any other councillors with comments or questions? Or Councillor Anderson?
Just thanks for the feedback. I think the amount of people who took the time to take part in the plan, I think we have an obligation to make sure that that plan is accountable and has objectives that are met and measurable. And I think that's a really good thing that we've taken from the community, is go, okay, well, how can we make these achievable objectives in the plan over the 4 years? So I thank those people in the community who told us that.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Any further comment? No, just me. I just wanted to, we've already touched on it briefly, but the action plan, it was something that was driven from community feedback, and it will make us more accountable. I think that's fantastic, and that it will be reviewed annually, and we can change the priorities as we see them, but still fit them under the council plan is really good. But I wanted to pick out, as I said, something mentioned before, that the pathway from where the current shared trail ends to Nightingales in Wandillagong is part of the action plan, and it's got pretty high priority. So it's recognised as something that's pretty important for our community over these next 4 years. As the other councillors have said, no, I forgot to mention how much effort the other councillors put in at pop-ups and deliberative engagement and discussing and reviewing both the council plan and the action plan, and some of the frustration that we could see on our officers' faces as we were changing something yet again. But I think it is, as Councillor Ronco said, it's the best council plan that I've been part of with this council, and when I compare it to those across the state that I look at, I think it's a really good plan, and I commend, again, I commend it to the councillors for the upcoming vote. So any further comments from anybody before we take it to the vote? No, take it to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendation as it stands? That'll be unanimous, and the hands went right up. Well done, and thank you. Next item is the draft financial plan 8.3.3. Ms. Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 8.3.3 Draft Financial Plan 2025 to 2035. The Financial Plan 2025 to 2035 provides a financial projection to effectively support implementation of the council plan and the community vision. The plan outlines the assumptions, policy and decisions of council used to determine the allocation and management of council resources over the next 10 years. The plan shows an ongoing adjusted underlying deficit for council for the term of the plan. This position was identified during the development of the approval of the 25-26 budget. This position is caused by the adjusted underlying deficit and funding required to maintain council's assets to the level identified in council's asset plan. Addressing council's financial sustainability is included in the draft council plan as a major initiative to ensure council reports regularly on progress against this item. A financial sustainability strategy will be drafted and presented to council. The strategy will set forward a series of actions required over the 4-year period to address the underlying deficit position and return council to a financially sustainable position. These actions will focus on reducing council's expenditure, increase revenue through targeted strategies, including undertaking service reviews and putting in place greater financial control and reporting mechanisms. Following development of the strategy, a further review of the underpinning data within this current financial plan will be undertaken as part of the 26-27 budget process. The strategy is currently in development. Therefore, at this stage, the strategy itself doesn't have any impact on the data that's contained within the current financial plan. The draft financial plan 2025 to 35 is ready for consultation with our community for a period of 14 days. And the recommendation is that council endorses the draft financial plan 2025 to 35 to be released for community consultation for a period of not less than 14 days. Notes that public feedback on the draft financial plan will be presented back to council for consideration at a future council meeting, and notes that council is required to adopt the financial plan by the 31st of October this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Councillors. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Townsend. Councillor Anderson.
Just again, how can people get onto the draft plan and how can they have an input, share their views, opinions?
So the draft plan will be on our Engage platform, as with all of our consultation documents, but we will also have hard copies at our facilities for those who wish to review a hard copy, so they may obtain them from the libraries, and you can always make an appointment to discuss it with the council officer.
Councillor Townsend?
Nothing to add.
Anybody else? No. I have a question, Ms Cook. Is financial sustainability of concern to just the Alpine Shire, or are budget deficits being seen across the sector, particularly in small rurals?
There have been a number of studies undertaken across the state more recently, and underlying adjusted deficits are becoming a feature, particularly in small rural councils. Yes.
And you've mentioned a sustainability plan that will be coming next month. Have you commenced that work?
So we have commenced. We've commenced the underlying analysis that's required to write the strategy. We've also commenced assessing what actions may be undertaken over the next 4-year period. So we're trying to design a strategy that, yes, is a strategy document, but like the council plan with an action plan that sits underneath it, we would have an action plan within that strategy that says these are the actions we're going to take over the 4 years to address our financial sustainability.
Thank you. Further questions or comments by councillors? No. We'll take the recommendation as it stands to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. And we move on to our planning considerations for the evening, 8.3.4. Ms Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first planning report relates to application 2025-02 for the Great Alpine Ride Bright, the proposal being the subdivision of land into 53 lots. The application proposes the subdivision of land into 53 lots and associated works, which comprises stage 3 of the Bright Valley development. The subdivision will be a sequential continuation of stages 1 and 2 and provides for lots to the north and east of these earlier stages. The road network contained with these earlier stages will also be extended to cater for the new lots created. The layout in the application has been assessed and is considered to be consistent with the policies contained with the planning policy framework and purpose and decision guidelines of the general residential zone, bushfire management overlay and land subject to inundation overlay, and is considered to be generally in accordance with the approved development plan in place for this site. In summary, stage 3 of the Bright Valley development supports a continued and appropriate increase in lot yield within the developing and serviced area of the Bright Township, and it is recommended that this application is supported. The recommendation is that Council determines to issue a planning permit for the 53 lot subdivision of land at Great Alpine Road Bright, subject to the conditions contained in the attachment to the report that you've been provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Cook. Councillors. Moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Byrne. Councillor Anderson.
Nothing to add.
Councillor Byrne. Nothing to add, thanks. Do any other councillors have any questions or comments they'd like to make? Councillor Ronco.
Firstly, like many residents in Bright, I share with them the pain in seeing 2 of our beautiful mature trees being removed. This tree makes this avenue along the Great Alpine Road so beautiful and unique in all of Australia. For stage 3 of the Bright Valley development, I would like to raise 3 main concerns that I have and question. So first, I would like to know, could you confirm that Norris Water, a referral authority, states in their report that stage 3 will exhaust the remaining available capacity in the sewer network? And this response and draft condition provide no guarantee in relation to the ongoing capacity to service to proposed development. Do a water and sewer servicing strategy between the proponent and Norris Water has been studied and organised to give some clarity and reassurance to the Bright resident about the continuity of services.
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. So we are aware that there are some constraints, particularly with regard to the sewer network within Bright. North East Water is a determining authority for this application and they are responsible for assessing capacity constraints. They have not objected to the granting of this permit subject to conditions, and those conditions are contained in the attachment to your report. North East Water acknowledge the capacity constraints that you have outlined, and they have encouraged in their response the applicant to deal directly with them ongoing to address these constraints.
Thank you. So my second concern is, could you confirm that North Catchment Management Authority, referral authority, state in their report that prior to issue of a statement of compliance for Stage 3, the proposed compound channel along the Great Alpine Road to cater for breakout flow from Stackegully Creek, consistent with the property service report, shall be constructed to the satisfaction of the responsible authority. The question is, does the complete flood study designed for Stackegully Road has been finalised before any further development to ensure potential flooding is handled appropriately?
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. The North East Catchment Management Authority is the statutory recommending referral authority for floodplain management. They have not objected to the granting of this permit subject to conditions, one of which is the completion of a proposed compound channel along the Great Alpine Road, which would cater for breakout flows from Stackegully Creek and that would be required prior to a statement of compliance being issued for Stage 3. It is noted that the location and extent of those breakout flows from Stackegully may change depending on any result of works undertaken to the Stackegully Creek. However, should works be undertaken to Stackegully Creek that might impact on those breakout flows, then requirements and the conditions could be reassessed at that point.
Thank you. And finally, the third point, it's in this report, 42% of the lot is under 400 square metres. Tonight we talk about the draft of Alpanshire Neighbourhood Character Strategy 2025, discouraging subdivision laws smaller than 400 square metres on this specific area. I would like to invite the proponent to work with us and to reconsider the lot size following the draft Alpanshire Neighbourhood Character Strategy 2025 for this project. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. Neighbourhood Character Strategy, which is one of the reports that we saw tonight for that document to go out for community consultation. Aside from that document, which is in current draft form, we don't yet have sufficient local policy on preferred neighbourhood character in our townships. That is the work that is being done on the Neighbourhood Character Strategy to date, but it is yet to be implemented into the planning scheme. In order to implement the work that is being done through the strategic planning team into the Alpine planning scheme, there are a range of statutory processes which are subject to exhibition and community consultation. As you heard from Director Assets, this process can take up to 2 years. Until that is complete, we can't apply any provisions of that strategy, and trying to align current or future development to that strategy at this point in time would be premature.
Thank you. So with these three concerns, I hope that residents could have some certainty regarding the future of development in the Alpanshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. And Ms Cook, any further questions or comments or discussion? No, we will take this one to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Or abstaining? Okay, Councillor Ronco has abstained. Thank you. That is passed. We move on to item 8.3.5. Ms Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report, item 8.3.5, relates to planning permit 2024-068, being 12 Jubilee Street, Myrtleford. The proposal is the use and development of the land for industry, construction of a shed and reduction of car parking requirements. The application seeks approval to use land for the purpose of industry within an associated construction of a shed and reduction to car parking. The use in construction will support an electrician's business, essentially being a base for tradespeople associated with the business. The premise will not be accessible to the general public and will only be used by the business owners and occasional subcontractors. Due to the requested reduction in car parking requirements, that is why this permit application decision is being brought to council. The use will provide 7 spaces within the shed structure. Pursuant to clause 5206, 12 spaces are required on the floor area of the building. This reduction of 5 spaces is therefore sought, and as this is a greater reduction of 20% to the requirements, the council is required to make the decision. The application included a car parking demand assessment which provided detail about the operational nature of the business and its parking requirements. Officers view this assessment justifies the proposed reduction. And the recommendation is as per the recommendation in your report, which is to approve a notice of decision to grant a planning permit with the associated detail that you've seen in the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Cook. Councillors, lots of hands up here. I reckon I'm going to go for Councillor Graham and Councillor Byrne. Councillor Graham.
Nothing to add, no.
Councillor Byrne.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Anybody else like to add something to this one? Comment? No? Okay, we'll take it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. 8.3.6, Ms Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 8.3.6 relates to planning application 2025-017-17, being 13 McGinn Crescent, Myrtleford. This proposal is for construction of industrial shed for the purpose of heavy machinery repairs and, again, the reduction in the parking requirements. The application seeks approval for the development of an industrial building to be used for motor repairs, comprising a workshop area, parts storage, a storage area, reception, lunchroom, toilet and mezzanine level storage and office area. The proposal includes a ColourBond boundary fence, roller doors, cladding and the roof in ColourBond colours and shell grey. The proposal includes 10 outdoor parking spaces, 3 service bays and a new crossover and vehicle driveway. As per the previous report, the reason this is coming to council is that the aggregate total of 13 parking spaces is less than the standard rate specified at clause 52.06 for this type of development, which would generally require 22 parking spaces. The recommendation is that council approves the notice of decision to grant a planning permit with the associated conditions as has been detailed in the report. However, I do have one proposed amendment to the recommendation that is in your report currently, and this is to add a proposed number 5, which we'll put on the screen. A proposed number 5 which allows for a slight amendment to condition number 23A to add the words into the condition that enables council officers to consider an alternative to bitumen surface within that condition. That simply allows us some flexibility in the discussion on that condition going forward. So it would be an amendment to condition 23A to read surfaced with an appropriate bituminous surface, asphalt or spray seal applied over an appropriate standard crushed rock pavement or plain grade concrete or alternatives subject to council satisfaction would be the change to that condition. Otherwise, the recommendation is, as per your report, to approve the granting of a permit with the associated conditions which were attached. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Cook. Councillors, the recommendation with the extra condition, or the change of the condition, Councillor Anderson, Councillor Graham. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Graham.
Nothing to add.
Any other councillors want to add anything or ask any questions? I'm going to ask why, Ms Cook, was there a change to the condition?
Because once the applicant considered the published conditions, there's some discussion about whether there would be an alternate surface that would be to the satisfaction of council. Those conversations have not finalised, so the change to the condition actually simply allows that extra flexibility in discussion with council to still be in accordance with the conditions of the permit.
Thank you. Anything else from other councillors? Nope. Take this one to the vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Super. And we move on to 8.3.7. Ms Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 8.3.7 relates to planning application 2025-062, being a development plan for 12 Simmons Creek Road, Toowoomba South. The proposal is to approve a development plan. Council has received an application to approve a development plan for the land as outlined. The development plan presents a high-level plan that will facilitate future subdivision of the land with public infrastructure and facilities. Broadly, the plan sets out a four-staged approach to developing the site, drainage reserves and an open space path corridor to the eastern boundary of the site, which fronts the Kiewa River, connections to the existing road network, including Glenbourne Drive to the south and west, and how it interfaces, including to the Alpine National Park and the Kiewa River, would be addressed. The lot yield across the development will depend on the final subdivision design. Processes to approve a development plan under the Planning and Environment Act are different from the processes used by which Council considers and approves planning permits. This report steps through the specifics of the site, what the development plan entails, and what Council must consider in this decision-making. Approval of the development plan will allow for future planning permit applications to be submitted for subdivision and other activities, and these applications would need to generally accord with the approved development plan in order to be granted. There is no statutory process for dealing with public input into the consideration and adoption of a development plan. Further, after development plans are adopted, they remove third-party appeal rights from subsequent planning applications, which are then in accordance with the approved development plan. Notwithstanding this provision, Council did send letters to adjoining property owners and occupiers inviting comment in relation to the proposed development plan. In response to that, 2 submissions were received to the application, which raised concerns which have been addressed within your report. Similarly, there is no statutory referral requirements applicable to the consideration of a development plan. Council did send a copy of the application to the relevant authorities for comments and considerations for the application, and those responses were also considered within your report. Like planning permit applications, the assessment of a development plan must be undertaken against relevant planning policies, including the planning policy framework, the zone of the land and applicable overlays, including the development plan overlay policy at clause 43.04 of the Alpine Planning Scheme. An assessment against each of these provisions have been detailed in your report. It is considered that the proposed development plan provides for a conceptual layout for future low-density residential subdivision, which supports the continued and increase of lot yield within the area, which is adjacent to the established area of Toowoomba South. The site and any future development will also benefit from the services which exist in the Mount Beauty and Toowoomba South areas. While there are challenges by way of infrastructure servicing and bushfire risk, these details would be more appropriately addressed through the subdivision application processes themselves. On this basis, it's considered appropriate that the development plan is approved, and the recommendation for Council is as detailed in the report, that the development plan be approved following subject to conditions and notations that are provided on the plan as has been detailed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Cook. Councillors. Councillor Tanzan. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Tanzan.
Am I allowed to ask what the concerns from the adjoining property owners were?
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Tanzan. Let me find them in the report. The 2 submissions that received to the application raised the following concerns: lack of infrastructure to service the development and future residents, a risk of bushfire, the risk of land slip, lot sizes being inconsistent with the existing area of Glenbourne Drive, impact on flora and fauna, traffic and car parking, and other issues which could include economic development, noise pollution, property values and crime.
Perfect, and they were all addressed.
The responses have been provided within a report. A number of the issues that are raised are more appropriately dealt with at a planning permit application process.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Anderson.
For the community to be aware, you talk about it being low density. What sort of size blocks are we talking about?
Lot yield will be detailed within planning permit applications, generally. There are various sizes within the development plan which aren't stipulated.
Thank you. Other questions, comments from councillors? We'll take this one to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Item 8.3.8, debtor management policy. Ms Cook, sorry, I keep doing the introduction for you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 8.3.8 being the debtor management policy. The debtor management policy is an important means of ensuring that council manages money owed to it appropriately, fairly and consistently, and we provide an overarching position on debt management. Council last formally adopted the debtor management policy in 2023. A review of the policy has been undertaken and the reviewed policy is provided to Council for adoption. Only minor amendments have been made to the policy and the proposed updates are dot pointed in the report. It is recommended that Council 1 adopts the reviewed debtor management policy being version 5, revokes the debtor management policy version 4 and signs and seals the debtor management policy at the appropriate stage of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Cook. Councillors. Councillor Anderson, Councillor Byrne. Councillor Anderson.
Just a quick question. Are there any significant changes in this policy that will impact on current debtees, I think it is, thanks, who will fall under this policy?
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. No, the updates are minor in nature. For example, we've cross-referenced the financial hardship policy for debtors. We've clarified and strengthened the process for debt write-off, provided some process and consistent approach updates and done some assessments and legislative referencing. So the updates are very minor. The policy itself relates to trade debtors. This isn't a policy that deals with rates debtors. This is a trade debtor policy, and anyone who's currently been managed through our current debt management policy would be managed through this one.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Byrne, no. Anything from anybody else? Councillor Smith.
Yeah, can I just ask, if we were to have some write-offs with debtors, what strategies or provisions we got to cover these write-offs, or these, if we were to have something?
So debtors are currently classed as current assets within our financial statements. They're at note 5.1 under statutory receivables. That's where we provision the debtor, our current trade debtors. In 24-25, our trade debt level was at $1.5 million, so it's a significant amount we're managing through trade debtors. I'm sorry, Councillor Smith, can you repeat the question, the specifics of the question?
Yeah, I was just saying if we were to have a debtor write-off for what a significant amount or something, what provisions or strategy have you got in place to cover this loss?
So it would go through an approval process for a debtor write-off. Having said that, within my time at Council, we have not approved any debtor write-offs. We generally manage them through the process of the policy and recover the debt.
Thank you. Anything further from councillors? No. Take the recommendation to the vote as it stands. Those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. 8.3.9, Ms Cook.
8.3.9, thank you, Madam Mayor, is our instruments of delegation. The instrument of delegation is an important means of council ensuring its officers are appropriately legislated to enact their powers under the various acts and regulations that council administers. This report refreshes the delegations to the Chief Executive Officer and to council members of staff. The recommendation is in the detail of your report and updates the instruments of delegation, which we call Instrument S5 and Instrument S6. Thank you.
Thank you.
An instrument, yes. Thank you.
Councillors. Councillor Ronco. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Ronco.
Nothing to add.
Councillor Anderson. Anybody? Got a question? If we didn't vote this one through tonight, would council be able to operate?
So the instruments of delegation enable council officers to work under the various pieces of legislation and make delegated decisions. It would mean that council would hold a lot of delegated decision making at its own level, and an awful lot of decisions would need to come to council for decision making.
So that would make our meetings long, wouldn't it? Anything from anybody else? No, take this one to the vote. That's carried unanimously. Next item is informal meetings of councillors, where we put forward the briefing sessions and anything else that we've been to over the last month. And this is for August. So we'll catch up the September meetings at the end of September. And we have our meeting in about 2 weeks or something. So the recommendation is that we note the summary, receive it. Councillors. Councillor Ronco. Councillor Byrne. Councillor Ronco.
Yep. Representation of report.
I know it's next one.
Next one? So, okay. No, nothing to add.
Councillor Byrne, no, nothing to add. Thank you. We'll take it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. And then we move to presentation of reports by delegates. And Councillor Townsend, do you have a report? No. Councillor Ronco.
Yes, so last Wednesday, the 3rd of September 2023, at 2025, sorry, at 10:30 a.m. at Mount Beauty Neighbourhood Centre, I attend the Alpine Resilience Partnership. I would like to thank the Mount Beauty Neighbourhood Centre to facilitate this meeting. Of course, we address the ongoing situation in Popunka with the authority agency present in the meeting, like CFA and SES. Steve Bailey, chair of the IRP, presents the result of the survey regarding our ongoing meeting for the months ahead, with 5 hybrid meetings, face-to-face and online per year. And on the Monday or Thursday morning, we're still working on casual evening meeting to attract more community group. So Ginny Corsair updates us on the progress on a place-based capital project. And the different agencies present their report. So I continue to raise the need to present the 72 hours program to the Dedurang community to be well informed before the next bushfire season. I also raise communication around drought-affected community, such as Norris Water message to be cautious with our water and work on our resilience for future drought in the region. The meeting finished at 12:30, and the next IRP meeting will be on the Wednesday, 5th of November 2025, with a location to be confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ronco. Does anybody else have any reports to give, things they've attended? No? We move on to general business, and I'll start on my right with Councillor Anderson. General business, Tri-Council.
Just to note that there was a Tri-Council meeting between the Alpine Shire Council, the Indigo Council and Tawong Council, which was held at Pioneer Park Pavilion last Friday? Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? Yes. Yeah, it was Tuesday. All right. Sorry, Jay's getting away from me. It was a really good turnout. We had all councillors present were there, and we also had all the councillors from Indigo Shire, their CEO. We had the mayor and the deputy mayor and the CEO of Tawong, and we discussed a number of topics, including the Greenfield Hospital that they're trying to get up in Albury at the moment, and we also talked about potential for shared services and some other topics off the top of my head. I'm trying to remember now. And financial sustainability of small regional councils, and also the relationship of councils with state government and the renewable transition. And it was a really good opportunity just for networking between 3 councils who have some shared interests and opportunities. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Byrne? No. Councillor Graham? Councillor Smith?
Yeah, just in general business, I'd just like to, the events of the last couple of weeks, it's, everyone's noticed it's been a real division in the community. I think we just need to really look out for each other and be kind to each other. Social media's got involved a lot, so there's a lot of people that are really hurting out there and alienated. There's, you know, what people, we've just got to be really smart how we communicate. There's some really nasty things getting done on social media, which is it's terrible. So there is some people out there, but let's just be all conscious together. We speak well to each other and we just be kind. It's been a really hard couple of weeks, and I know a lot of the community's hurting out there, so I think it's just for people out there watching here, or it's just really that we all sort of move in the right direction and get through this. It's been hard and there's more to do, but yeah, I just want to make an acknowledgement there that, yeah, there's some really bad comments we've got to stop making and just work together. Just want to add that.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Ronco? Councillor Tanzin? No. I'm going to pick up a couple of things. We had yet another discussion about the Emergency Services and Volunteer Fund levy that's been imposed on the Victorian community today as a council, and we have supported yet another letter to the state government requesting a moratorium and an inquiry into the best way to put that sort of a levy forward into the future. On a more positive note, I wanted to talk about the Youth Awards, that the celebration's coming up this Friday, and there's a record-breaking number of nominations, something like 80, which is just magnificent. I think it really reflects how wonderfully our young people are stepping up and how much they're contributing to their community and being part of it. So well done to everybody who's been nominated, and everybody who hasn't been nominated is really good, and I can't wait till we actually find out who the winners are. And I'm looking forward to the party because we all have to wear pink. So that's my favourite colour, in case you can tell. But I also wanted to pick up the really tragic and ongoing situation that we have around us. I think social media is really damaging, so I don't look at it, so I haven't seen those comments, Councillor Smith, but the people I've been speaking to are very strong with their community, and I think we have strong communities and we will move forward together constructively in the whole. I wanted to recognise that it is an ongoing police operation. It's very active, and that we work with the police to make sure that we support them in what they need to do. I'm also working with the state members, so elected members, so other Premier and ministers and federal members and our local state member who's not in Parliament. I mean, he's in Parliament, but he's not in the party that's winning. So it's a bad way to put it. Anyway, so I'm working with all those people to try to make sure that we get long-term support into the future for psychological well-being, community cohesion and economic recovery. And that's going to be a long-term process, both getting the support and rolling it out. But we have had really good commitment from local support networks such as Gateway Health and Albury Wodonga Health, who are running or be part of the pop-ups, lack of a better name to call them, up and down the Ovens Valley over this week and next week, where people can go and have a cup of coffee and a chat with somebody about whatever it is that they're concerned about. It doesn't even have to be about this particular incident, to be honest, but I'm sure there's people who really need to just have a talk about it, and that can be, I was hearing today from an expert about trauma recovery, that's a really good way to start managing what's going on in your life, just talking to somebody. So I really encourage people to take up the opportunities at Bright tomorrow, between 10 and 3 at the community centre, at Porpunka Pantry on Thursday between 10 and 3, at Myrtleford Gateway Health between 10 and 3, and then back to the same pattern, so Porpunka, and then on Monday, and then Bright Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday and Porpunka, and Friday and Myrtleford the following week. So it's just drop in, turn up any time and have a chat with somebody who can help you and who cares. I also wanted to say thank you to all those who've reached out with sympathy and support. There has been an absolute flood of other mayors from across Victoria, ministers from across Victoria, I reached out to people in Queensland who've gone through something similar a few years ago, and we've had quite good discussions. And we even got a call from the Governor-General, and I've got which was really wonderful, and I've got to put forward the quip that Will made when I walked back into the room and said, that was the Governor-General. And he said, well, we're just waiting for Katy Perry to ring. So, but I did want to also say that, I was going to hand over to Will for some of this too, but we're also working with state agencies, and one of the agencies we're working with is Visit Victoria to get ready for when we are able to invite people back into the area, and they were the people who organised or were very, very instrumental behind Katy Perry coming after the bushfires. So that's my little segue, and that's enough for me for general business, and I'd like to hand over to Will. Mr. Jeremy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I won't say too much, but I think it's important to recognise the impact that this tragic event is having on our business community, and particularly on the casual staff that have been employed by the businesses that have lost their shifts. So it's having a significant and an ongoing impact, and part of that impact is because there's an uncertainty about the end date. Our businesses can't plan for when this will finish. We've got casual staff, a lot of casual staff here employed in our industries, hospitality industry particularly, who are without work at the moment. So it's having a very significant impact. I think from my perspective, I've been working with the Mayor to advocate for funding largely through the state government. The Commonwealth Government has said that the trigger is for the state to ask for it, and so far the state hasn't asked the Commonwealth Government for assistance. So we're putting as much pressure as we can on the state. But I guess my reflection is this is an incident without precedent. So an incident that is a shooter incident where the incident continues to exist in the community is without precedent in Victoria. And we're trying to seek funding through funding streams that aren't particularly well aligned to an incident that doesn't have precedent. So we're pushing as hard as we can. We've had a very large number of conversations through very large number of different departments and ministers in the government now. This morning I had a conversation with the CEO of Emergency Recovery Victoria because our understanding is that they are processing the request that we put in is sitting with them, with Minister Ward, who's the Minister for Natural Disaster Recovery and Emergency Services. So we're pushing as hard as we can on the state government. We will continue to push, even if the first answer we get back is not a positive answer, we will continue to push. We're working closely with the Chamber of Commerce, and we really appreciate their support in flagging to us some of the impacts that the businesses are seeing, not just within Bright and Porepunkah and the local region, but extending now out into Myrtleford, down the Great Alpine Road, across into the Kiewa Valley. So this incident is having a large impact on our business community, and that impact is spreading outside the immediate upper ovens. So I think it's important to recognise that. We'll keep pushing, we'll keep working with the Chamber, we'll keep doing what we can as Council to support the community, and hopefully we can find a way to leverage some support into that business community through the various levels of government. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Jeremy. Very well said and wonderful. Go for it. Is it on the agenda? Mr. Hall?
Hi, Bruce Hall, Chamber of Commerce. I guess that's what I'd like to point out is I get the history of governance in our council meetings. I get why we have the restricted nature of the questions at the beginning of the meeting from us. But this event has been going on for 2 weeks now, and there was no opportunity for us to be agile enough to take questions from the floor in regards to the actual incident, and to highlight the great work that's been done by the chambers and done by the council in trying to engage with various agencies, the police and so forth, and for support. But I ask that the councillors consider our current governance arrangements and recognise that we may have gone a little bit too far. And I get why, right? And I'll go on the record to say it pisses me off. But realistically, we don't want to waste time, but we had real solid questions to ask councillors today, and we weren't able to do so because the issue wasn't on the agenda. And that's all I ask you to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Hoare, and I apologise for that. Absolutely. I'm sure there are other people in the audience who would have liked to ask some questions too. So we are now moving on to motions for which notice has previously been given, and there are none. Reception and reading of petitions, there are none. Documents for signing and sealing, and we have 5. There's a recommendation. Might come up on the screen. It's most of the stuff that we've discussed today, things like the delegation and lease of current allotment at the Myrtleford Bowls Club, etc. So could I have a mover and a seconder, please, for the document signing and sealing? Councillor Tanzan and Councillor Anderson. Thank you very much. All those in favour? That is carried, and we now move on to item 15, which is closure of the meeting, and it is closing at 18:45. Thank you very much, everybody.